Hello. Um, have you ever, let me ask you a question. For those who love to improvise and are getting into it, all those little chord symbols you see when in the notation in your music, can you spell them all? I mean, can you think of the notes that are in it, like in a heart, like in a matter of, like rhythm changes, for example? If I were just to pick a guide tone line in there, guide tone lines, picking notes in the chords to go uh, to you go to the next notes, next chord. Like on rhythm changes. Just picking notes, picking a guide tone line within the chords. Can you do that? First of all, do you know what a guide tone line is? A guide tone line. Let's take the first four chords of rhythm changes: C major, C diminished 7, D minor 7, G7, or that G instead of the G7, you can substitute that with D sharp diminished and then E. Um, what notes do you see in there? How, from the first chord to the fifth chord, do you see a steady line of common notes and really close notes that would help define the sound when you're improvising over that? Like if I just used the root notes, okay, or from the third, or can you pick them out? Like I mean, so like when I'm actually doing a line, I mean, can you hear the chord shape? I mean, or can you outline the chord exactly like I just did, or is that too difficult? I mean, what I was told about like the early improvisers like Dizzy and Coleman Hawkins, all that they used to practice in their hotel room for hours together after a gig or before a gig, whatever. There's stories. The monk tunes were so hard that uh, they would practice them slowly in the Harlem Jazz Club at night. Practice them very, very slowly until the improviser could like grasp the the way the harmonic movement was happening. Of course, Monk, he wrote some really difficult tunes. Uh, but for our benefit, like if we're uh, like talking about a blues or rhythm changes. I mean, can you just like can you just outline like that? I mean, because if you can't, you're missing out. You're missing on one of the most important structures in improvisation, and that's like harmonic movement. And then, depending on the melody, you know, uh, and a lot of the bebop tunes, the melody and the harmonic movement are almost one and the same at times. So, what I did with that, because I was there. I was very eager to play the music, but I couldn't really see the chords. I went to see a teacher by the name of Charles Banakis, uh, and told him about my dilemma, and uh, and he told me, he said, you know, you've got to break down the structures very simply and practice over the structure slowly until your fingers get it. So, like, for example, I couldn't see all the major seven chords, so I started practicing one at a time slowly. Now, C major is the easy one, but you want to be able to do that in any key. That's D flat, then like G flat. Or B major. The thing is, all 12 of those chords, you got to be able to, at a certain tempo on your metronome, be able to play those even and with clarity. Once I got the major sevens down, I was thinking, wow, that's pretty cool. But then Charlie said, well, there are 11 types of seventh chords. There's major, there's dominant, there's minor seven flat five, minor major seven, sus4, 7, augmented plus, augmented minus, augmented sharp 11 plus, augmented sharp 11 minus. I said, oh my gosh. So that was my first step. Taking every single chord type and arpeggiating it so that I could see it. That this just became like a routine in my practice. If you're a trumpet player, it's like doing Schlossberg. You know, once you see the note, like I'll do the augmented. Get the four notes working for you, and then try to extend it. And then do that through 12 keys. Do that on all the 11 chords. Once you do that, I'm thinking that you're thinking that I'm thinking, oh, I've got this now. But what you want to do next is take like a basic chord progression in jazz, which is rhythm changes, and see if you can arpeggiate through the rhythm changes progression. just arpeggiate, like a bridge. Oh, this D is terrible. Uh, and get the basic chord pattern down, and the most key that's rhythm changes played in the most, which is B flat. But then when you get that, what I would suggest is like try a different key. We'll go to B major. Sorry, I didn't know which pattern I was going to use there. But do it in every key. Every key. Oh, sorry. Every key arpeggiated, and I can't tell you what that does for you. It helps you see. It begins to open up that basic pattern. Uh, you know, it doesn't matter how you do it. There's not like a set thing in stone. I mean, you can arpeggiate it exactly the way the chords read. That's fine. Or you can spin it around. As long as you play the chord, you can play it in any order. It doesn't matter. Just as long as you play the right notes. And you have to check them. Um, what I have my students do is write that out. And it's a lot of work. But if you want to do it, you want to play in every key. Sometimes just sing so you know what your ear is hearing uh, can be a real aid for you. So practicing chords in jazz. What did I cover? I covered like number one, practice all the chords individually slowly. Do it as a warm up. Saxophone players, practice C major 7. Go up to your altissimo register and come all the way back down uh, to the low B and B flat. Trumpet players, don't overexert yourself. Play it easy. Play. You can play as high or as low. It all depends on what you're trying to achieve when you're practicing the chords. If you're going for more endurance and you want to like practice a lot, trumpet players don't play so high. But sometimes you want to play high, So, and that becomes like a different sort of exercise. Each has benefits. I mean, you can't be scared of the high notes, certainly. But if you also want to, be able to play the entire chord progression, you may need to alter the, uh, like I did, make sure you don't force, make sure you blow evenly. If you don't know the notes, don't play. Make sure you see the notes first. Make sure, so you know the target. So you're not teaching your chops to aim for an arpeggio without, a really good example of that. It's like when you're practicing sus4. And you don't have to play them as fast as I'm playing. James Moody once told a really good friend of mine, I think Greg Fishman, I really think it was Greg who told me this. He said, James told him, he said, slow it down. And you think you've got it slow enough, practice slower. Because you really have to see to be able to hear. And once you hear, you can see. They're connected. Sight and ear are connected. So make sure that you connect and play, you know, it's okay to practice slow, practice easy. I felt like I forced that a little bit. My Bell's palsy, that's a great chord for me to practice because one thing I lost before the surgery and then after is uh, playing it intervallically. And so, I mean, I have to really work on and then the chords. I have to be, uh, looking to get an even sound and be able to play the chord accurately. There's all kinds of things I could talk about when practicing chords. This is a start. This isn't at all the end all. But when you get the basic, you can see the basic four notes in every key. It's a great start when building, when you start going to tunes and being able to build chord progressions and practice them. Take care. That's my introduction lesson to chords.